awesome experience.
Sing feel better.
All right, what's happening, everybody? I want to talk about something because unfortunately it got brought up yesterday twice. And it's something that a lot of people don't even know about. I had a complete AC reconstruction because I had a grade 5 separation. And I'll get into the story about how everything happened, but I'm excited to say this video is sponsored by LMNT. So I got probably my new favorite here, the watermelon salt, right here in my Hydra Peak flask. So I always have this thing with me. I always make sure I'm hydrated, but part of why it kind of makes sense to have LMNT sponsor this video is one of the things that helped me heal was staying hydrated. So if you want to try it out, click the link below. You can get yourself a sample pack for nothing except the cost of shipping. So try it out, see what you think, get a little bit more hydrated. I'm pretty certain it's going to help you out. Now, let's break down a little bit about what happened. I was riding up in Bentonville, Arkansas, actually a little bit south, at a place called Fitzgerald. It was a private invite-only ride, and this was in May of 2018. We were getting ready to move to Bentonville, hadn't even moved yet. And I went and did a private ride at Fitzgerald. It was fun, had a blast, but I've always been pretty low carb for the last probably 15 years. And this day I fasted to start the day, had some coffee and creamer, had a bunch of meat and guac from Chipotle for lunch, and then I went and did this ride later in the day. Now, I had my fuel with me. I had some yummy treats in my pocket, but I was so caught up in the ride that I never took the time to stop and eat those things. And we were just bouncing all over the place. We hit this really fun jump line, and next thing I knew, I was waking up hitting the ground. And I remember thinking, what the heck was going on? And I looked at my shoulder and it was destroyed. I looked around and said, what happened? And everybody just said, dude, you just flipped over. It was the craziest thing. Well, then everything went black. I kind of came to on the side of the road, didn't know how I got there. Long story short, it was a grade 5 separation. It was really bad. I was lucky that I had a good friend who was good friends with the surgeon who ended up fixing it. His name is Dr. Brett Rayner. Young dude, stud, really good at this surgery. So within, I think it was 5 days, maybe 6, I was getting the shoulder repaired. So I think that's key. Now, part of what happened initially was I knew it was bad. I immediately stopped eating any more carbohydrates, and I tried to be as clean as I could with my nutrition because I was dealing with a lot of inflammation. So first and foremost, if you have a shoulder injury and it's fairly bad, you think you might need surgery, I would try to clean up your diet as quickly as you can. You're going to try to manage inflammation for a long time. Next thing I did was I made sure I was very hydrated. As soon as we knew it was going to be repaired, I had a friend named Colin reach out. Colin is a doctor down in Austin, and so he gave me this protocol to deal with the surgery, to deal with anesthesia, something to deal with blood vessel health, and then something to deal with pain, because he knew I wouldn't want to take painkillers if I didn't have to. So that protocol was something that I think was incredibly important, and I have outlined that down below in the text so you can take a look at that. I was as specific as I could get with that, and then I'll actually link his Instagram handle, so if you have any questions you can ask him directly. On top of that, I think the nutrition piece was important. Sarah made a lot of bone broth. So she used pasture raised chickens and she got feet. And so she made bone broth, and I pretty much lived on that bone broth as much as possible. So I kept the carbs down. I shortened my feeding windows, which means I didn't eat for extended periods of time. So I'd push the morning meal as late as I could, and I would have dinner, so to speak, as early as I could to keep that feeding window short. A couple of other things. Sarah infused some citrus oils to try to keep my mental health in the best position it could be. She was concerned that I would get really down because of the timing of it happening. And surprisingly, I dealt with it really well. I don't know how to tell you to deal with it as well as you can, besides just telling you try to deal with it as well as you can. I couldn't control it. It was done. I was injured. It was right before we were going to move to Arkansas to pretty much start a new life. There were a lot of bad things about it, but my thought was I can't control those things. All I can do is control what I can control. And the better my state of mind is, my thought process was the better I'm going to heal from this. So I really just tried to keep that front of mind, and I took everything seriously. I went in, I had the surgery done. The surgery went pretty well. I listened to everything. I iced when I should. I stayed hydrated, tried to stay as positive as possible. And when it came time for rehab, I pushed it enough to recover as quickly as I could. I was very specific about that. I didn't push hard for the sake of pushing hard. I listened to my body, I listened to the therapist, and I listened to my surgeon. And there is a certain time frame that your body needs to heal from things like that based on who you are and what you're dealing with. I was pretty healthy going into it, and I took it very seriously. I followed that supplement protocol, and I think that was what really helped me heal as quickly as I did. Now, in a couple months' time, I had a decent amount of mobility, but I didn't get back on the bike. I took my time getting back on the bike. It was probably 3 to 4 months before I started riding around again, and then probably a solid 5 before I started riding hard, I guess you could say. I wasn't trying to rush it. In regards to the exercises, I was tempered. I did what I was told. I tried to avoid anything overhead, anything that was quick that could potentially have me in an awkward position. Subsequently, at this point, I can do a lot of overhead work. I mean, it's great. Like I don't feel like there's any deficiency from side to side. If I sleep on it, it still hurts a little bit sometimes, but I think that's to be expected when you have this procedure. So it was the dog bone button technique. So they drilled down through the acromion and put the dog bone buttons at the top and the bottom, and then used a cadaver tendon to wrap around just to give it a little bit of extra stability. It's worked out well. I haven't had any issues. I've crashed a few times since then and haven't had any problems. So I'm happy with it. I made a few videos about it early on in the process because when I had mine, I looked for videos that were going to tell me what I was in for, and I couldn't find any. So I really wish I would have kept making those videos. This one's long overdue, but I think there are enough in the early stages and with this to help guide you through if you have any questions. So that being the case, if you're going through this, let me know if you have questions. I'll certainly give you my insight. All the information is below, as much as I think to put down, but it's one of those things where I was in a good position in that I had a bad grade 5. There was no question. I needed surgery. I was able to get it done very quickly. If you're a grade 3, possibly a grade 4, sometimes there's a lot of question of, should I have it fixed or shouldn't I have it fixed? And I don't know that. All I'm here to do is give you some insight on what I went through and how best I dealt with it. So again, hopefully that helped a little bit, made you feel better about where you're at. Again, drop a comment below, ask me a question, click that link below, get yourself some LMNT. Being hydrated certainly is not going to hurt, and stay positive out there. And if you are going through this, take your rehab seriously. Don't rush it, but be diligent, and you'll get back out there and you'll be ripping again soon. So have a killer day. Peace out. Cheers. All right.
Here, everything else looks really good. You can see here, it's kind of sitting nicely at the base of that thing. It's nicely reduced over here and on the axillary, middle of the bone, nicely reduced through here. So it all looks really perfect. All right, looks really good. That's great. You can even see, we can go out and look side to side on the big screen.
before left, after right, and so you're pretty happy with the progress.
Yeah, no, it looks really good. It's nicely reduced down, and all the hardware looks like it's in an appropriate position, nicely in the center of the bone to decrease fracture risk and stuff like that. So it looks really good. Most importantly, you look good.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Is that the good stuff?
Only the good stuff on top shelf. I can't pour anything else.
Nice. You gonna start saying some crazy things? How quickly
wait.
does it go in?
About 15 seconds.
Go.
Can I take some of this home? Make the end of my day a lot better, right?
Oh.
Ain't like being in the 60s, right?